Welcome to the Everything Actioncast, the official podcast of everythingaction.com.
Hello and welcome to the Everything Actioncast, the podcast for the week of September 4th, 2023. I'm your host, Zach.
I'm your co-host, Chris.
And we got a bunch of stuff this week, so let's jump right in. And we'll kick things off with some trailers. That was like the main source of news this week, was tons of trailers for some reason. But we got the main trailer for Castlevania Nocturne, which is coming up at the end of this month on September 28th on Netflix. And it's the sequel series to the original Castlevania anime series, which I think you and I both are huge fans of, Chris.
Yep.
And so Castlevania Nocturne is adapting, or I think it's set slightly before Rondo of Blood. It's in that time period of the Castlevania universe, and it follows Richter Belmont during the French Revolution, and there's a new vampire threat kind of in the background during that whole time period, and so he teams up with some other supernatural warriors to stop these new threats, including Maria Renard, who is another big like Castlevania character. And yeah, I mean, it looks like same level of like, you know, animation quality and over the top action and everything you expected from like the first Castlevania series. It's still I think it's still the same. It's the same Powerhouse Animation, the same animation studio. And I think the big thing too for me is that they had the Rondo of Blood theme in the trailer, so hopefully this means they'll actually have like Castlevania music to, like from the start and not have to wait like 2 seasons like the original show.
That's my only featured in one fight, and that was it.
That's my only gripe is we had to wait like 2 whole seasons until like the final episode of season 2 when they're fighting Dracula to have like actual like Blade Tears start playing or something, which is like, because like if there's one thing about Castlevania that people know and love, it's the music.
Yep.
So yeah, it's nice that like even just in the trailer they're like playing actual Castlevania music. So hopefully that means like the show will have quite a bit of actual Castlevania music. But yeah, what do you think of it? Does it look good, Chris?
It looks good. It's a little more colorful than the original series, just because like I feel like they did something different with the like tones, right?
Well, I wonder because it's more quote unquote modern, but it's like it's like 1782, so we're not in medieval like, you know, plague-ridden European
towns.
Like, yeah, we're in like it's like Paris cities.
Well, no, I just meant like some of even the poster art looks a little bright, and I was like, huh.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely slightly a different style, not a drastic departure, but I just was like, oh, maybe it's the style slightly changing just to distinguish itself from the season or the arc.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. Like Richter Belmont, it like he's fun. You know, he's a fun character. He's not exactly like the drunk rogue like Han Solo-esque guy we got from the other series. They're really trying to make him more of a tragic, like hero that pretty much is going to rise to the occasion to go on this like adventure to fight vampires.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if this is from like another backstory or something about like kind of like losing his parents to a vampire that's like, see you later, you know, like I'll fight you when you're ready kind of vampire, which
I think what I've read is that they are kind of adding to like the Rondo of Blood kind of backstory, or like they never really got into it like Richard's backstory in like that game, but they're kind of like expanding his like, you know, history for the series.
Yeah, I remember like later on when they did do Symphony of the Night, wasn't Richter like already captured, or you play as him first and then you play this? Like it's supposed to be back to back.
You play the end. You play the final battle of Rondo of Blood at the beginning of Symphony of the Night, and then it's I think I can't remember if he gets defeated or he defeats Dracula, but then something happens, then Alucard shows up at the castle and then does this whole adventure.
And it's like this. I'm not sure if it's the same day. I think it's like another time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with it because we got like a preview what Symphony of the Night would have been in the show. So my only hope is we finally get to that and it gets more and more grand. But I'm kind of fine with the series doing its own thing if it has to, because it's done like wonderful with the material. Like, this is another like, oh, it's a really good adaptation. Like people who like the games can still enjoy the games from this, but it's not like this is the official canon.
Mm-hmm.
I've pretty much enjoyed the series. I don't see it like going off the rails now.
Yeah, hopefully not. So yeah, September 28th is when that's dropping over on Netflix, and then we also this week got a new trailer for Godzilla -1, which is the new Toho Godzilla film, and definitely taking a new interesting take on Godzilla. Although I mean, we already had an interesting take with Shin Godzilla, but this is seems like slightly more traditional Godzilla than Shin Godzilla, which is like a crazy political commentary satire of like the Japanese governments more than the Godzilla movie. But Godzilla -1 is actually set pretty much like immediately after World War II. So you've got Japan, who is like economically devastated, wiped out from nuclear bombs. Like they have no defenses, they have no economy. They're basically the trailer is like they're like a zero, and then Godzilla shows up. So now like Japan's like -1 from like a functioning country. And then it's just like how is Japan that is barely able to function gonna like stop Godzilla?
Deal with Godzilla. Yeah, I just leave Japan during this. Whatever island he's on, he just owns it now. What are you gonna do? They're not allowed to have an army. All the soldiers that they sent are like just fresh from the war and still recovering.
Mm-hmm. Like two of their cities are wastelands, like radioactive wastelands.
Yeah, the populace is devastated. Like if you know what I mean, like if Godzilla showed up, Japan be like, yeah. Or they'll just like, this is American propaganda. Like, you think the bombs weren't enough? Like they sent a monster.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's an interesting time just because we're seeing Japan actually acknowledge like, oh, like maybe like pissing off America wasn't the best tactic.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like this angry monster is supposed to represent all of Japan's like rage. That's kind of what the Godzilla was, and sort of like, hey, nuclear weapons aren't good, but it would make more sense if Godzilla like showed. I mean, it sounds weird because they've done it and it didn't work, but like during this time, that Godzilla shows up in America as sort of like retribution for creating it with an atomic bomb. Wouldn't that make more sense?
Mm-hmm.
It's like Godzilla +1. Just like but that's the problem. Like it's more of this like the Japanese are woefully unprepared to deal with this. And so I think I can tell from like the start, it's about 80% of them just getting wiped out by Godzilla, and I don't know what's gonna satisfy him. Like is Godzilla just gonna get bored of trashing around, nothing to fight? Or is something else gonna happen and then he fights like Godzilla? Like I'm just like curious about that.
Another monster might show up, maybe, or something.
Yeah, like I don't know what Japan could do besides wait it out. Is just like, is this what the movie's message is? It's sort of like oh, we have no idea what to do because like the like red tape and bureaucracy is destroyed, so it's just chaos. And then it's like, I don't know. Let's pull something from Toho like deep lore where like, is it gonna be some kid on a mountain befriending like a monster? Like So I'm interested. Like Shin Godzilla was different because that was modern day and it wasn't like true Godzilla. He was more like a creature that shows up and then becomes that. And then didn't Shin Godzilla fight like another monster? In, like part 2?
Well, there hasn't been a part 2 yet. They did.
Oh.
They did Shin Godzilla and then they did Shin Ultraman and Shin Kamen Rider. which they're not tied. They're under the same like banner, but the banner is more like these are all like reimaginings of these franchises. They're not like it's not a cinematic universe where it's like Shin Ultraman's gonna fight Shin Godzilla or something.
Holy crap! I would watch that.
Yeah,
but you know what I mean? Like Godzilla movies are fun the first time where basically it like needs something to fight or it needs to be destroyed as a symbolism. But if you're just stomping on a defeated enemy, it just sounds weird. I'm for it just because it's cool to see more like destruction. But if he gets there, just like, well, what do I fight? Like, what's the tallest building? Like, oh, it's already destroyed. Now what?
I'm also curious. Like, there's like the end shot of the trailer where there's like Godzilla's like burnt, like he's like his skin's burning off. So like, what's happening to Godzilla in that scene?
I think they're fighting him with more nuclear weapons.
Or they've somehow found a weapon that they can use against him, and like they scrap together something.
I don't know. Like I'm trying to think of like a Japanese product like sushi. They just throw sushi at it.
Yeah.
Like wasabi. I'm only saying that as like, as a joke of what can you fight a monster that's showing up and destroying. That it's like I get it's probably pissed off that like it mutated or a nuclear bomb like dropped on it.
Yeah, it was the classic like he was awoken by
nuclear bombs. He was awoken by war. Yeah. So I that's cool, but like, is it gonna get weird where it's like we need to call America to help us now because hey, come back?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's not really in the trailer, but didn't we have like a occupational force post World War II of like?
Yeah, MacArthur was there for a while.
Yeah,
so they made like a whole naval base. It's still there now.
Are they gonna get Are they gonna get into that at all? Like the American forces are gonna try to stop Godzilla and then they get defeated horribly.
Wiped out.
Yeah.
And then it's up to like Korea.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm just thinking of weird possibilities that just sort of make sense in the time frame. But always Godzilla movies that are more famous for the fights have to do with Godzilla going to some remote island, and so it's really hard to get like sort of modern day technology to that place to fight Godzilla. Like even when he fights like all these other monsters, it's usually because like Godzilla shows up to like defeat it, or Godzilla's there fighting it like just fucking around first, and then another monster shows up that is like apparently way worse.
Yeah.
I still have to see that one where like aliens summon Godzilla and a whole bunch of things, and like half the movie is like guys in like fake Power Ranger suits fighting each other. Do you remember that one?
Like, is that like a more modern one or is that an old one?
No, it's like 2000 something.
Are you talking about Final Wars or there's like
no,
or like SOS or?
I gotta look it up again. They sort of blur to me like it's certain errors. If it's not the stupid ones where it's like a bunch of like sailors find Godzuki or something, or like a bunch of explorers uncover a monster, and then the only hope in this remote region of Japan is Godzilla for some reason, and then maybe they have like a flute. Sometimes they don't to like summon him. Did I imagine that? I feel like that's happened.
I'm sure it's that. Yeah.
No, I meant the flute part too. There's something where like they're able to summon him. Like, hey, we need Godzilla now. Like, we need to figure out how to attract him.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know like the cartoon base like 98 had like some sort of like lure so that they could use like bring him in.
Well, they had his son. So
yeah. Well,
he was the son. No,
that was the Hanna-Barbera cartoon. They had like Godzuki was their friend, and then they could like somehow like bring him like he could like I think Godzuki could like call his dad or something or like but
see, I'm confusing that too. I'm confusing all the Godzilla lore.
And then Mothra obviously had like the tiny girls that would like summon Mothra.
Yeah, the spirits of like children's hope.
Yeah.
And then the turtle.
Gamera?
Gamera. Yeah. He was friends with like a kid.
He's the friends of children, yes.
So that's why I'm like, are they gonna surprise with us with a like another monster where it's like, don't mess with Japan, we have kaijus? Like you can't regulate kaijus. It's like sort of like, oh yeah, sorry, you can't. Sorry, world police, you can't stop this from just happening because Japan's just full of these monsters.
Yeah, we'll to see. I December 1st is when Godzilla -1 is coming to the U.S. So definitely, if you're a kaiju fan, get ready for that one in December. And then we also got the trailer for a Hulu original that's gonna be hitting just in time for the spooky season at the end of this month. No One Will Save You, which is an alien invasion horror movie. Starring Caitlin Dever from Justified and Booksmart and a bunch of other things. And she is playing a woman who lives out in the woods, secluded in her like childhood home, and then aliens show up and are like, classic alien abductions. They're like teleporting people up in beams and invading her house, and then she has to figure out a way to like survive and hide from them and survive their invasion. I get a lot of like, it's like Signs. Signs makes me like A Quiet Place, because it looks
Right.
it kind of looks like a slightly different version of classic gray aliens, but they have like they're like more like spider-like a little bit. It looks like there's like kind of like a shot, and then the trailer has like a shot of like one of the aliens like chasing her. It's like super long arms and legs, but it kind of looks like a classic gray.
I wonder if those gray aliens actually have a classification by now.
Like a scientific classification.
Yeah.
I'm sure, like, I mean, Bigfoot is like a protected species, so I'm sure it's got something with like aliens. But and then Brian Duffield, who wrote The Babysitter and Underwater and Love and Monsters, is directing this movie. So those are some solid writing credits. So, and this looks like a pretty fun, like, we don't get a lot of like alien, like classic kind of alien invasion, like, UFOs, like beams shooting down the sky movies. You get one like every couple years.
Yeah, you get one every couple of years, but wasn't the last Jordan Peele movie an alien thing?
Sort of, yeah.
I mean, they didn't really get off the ship a lot, so I get it that they're trying something different.
But yeah, there's been stuff like, it's like The Fourth Kind, and there was Dark Skies, was that one? Like I think Kerry Russell was in one.
I thought Dark Skies, but like you didn't see aliens, wasn't it? Like alien brainwaves or something? It's like
No, I think Dark Skies was like another like gray aliens, but it was like a it wasn't Blumhouse, but it was in that vein.
I'm like, I remember Dark Skies was I didn't know if it was like a government conspiracy or an alien thing, but it's like the aliens take the baby, like take the kid or something, and they just go away. Yeah, there's like no rhyme or reason why in Dark Skies what happens. I just remember like it was very boring.
Well, it was things that happened to the kid of the family, and then they're like, is he being abused? Is this like actually is there aliens, or is there something else going on? And then it turns out, it's like, oh yeah, there's aliens, yeah.
But the problem was like the aliens, like they give you like a week long notice that they're coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be like because the birds in the neighborhood start dying, and then like weird occurrences from like static electricity, and then like for no reason whatsoever, J.K. Simmons is in there to explain it. Like he's studied the phenomenon about this, and no one believes him. And in the end, like the kid's kidnapped.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
And there was nothing that anyone could do.
And obviously, Signs the OG, like that's like as far as like modern like alien invasion stuff.
Well, that was different because they didn't really have warnings. They were just like picking random locations to try the same thing on.
Mm-hmm.
Until they got defeated by dumbass means, and that's why they only tried it in dry climates.
Yeah, their weakness is water. They invade a planet that's whatever 80% water, 90% water. Yeah.
And then doesn't it like would it make sense to like invade a desert?
Or any other planet like Mars.
Yeah, well, no one's there. I don't know what they were trying to do. But that's besides the point. The movie, the Signs works because it ends right before like it tries to explain itself.
Yeah. But if you have Hulu, you can check out No One Will Save You in September. I'm sure they're probably gonna shift to like their like whatever that like they do like I forget what they call it, like Huluween. I think is what they call it when they hide all their horror stuff. Which speaking of horror, we also got the first trailer this week for Thanksgiving, which is the over 15 years in the making full length version of the Grindhouse fake trailer, directed by Eli Roth. So Eli Roth, so he's back. He's directing this, and he also co-wrote this, and it's obviously based on that fake trailer that showed up at Grindhouse. And there is a pilgrim-based or guy in a pilgrim costume running around Plymouth, Massachusetts during Thanksgiving, burning people in ridiculous ways. Seems like a lot typical kind of slasher stuff going on. It does seem like it's gonna have a lot of like the scenes that were in the trailer kind of like fleshed out and like fully realized. Like there was that scene in the fake trailer where like it's in this trailer too, where it's like a cheerleader jumping on a trampoline and then the killer sticks a knife into the trampoline. That was like the big like like gag from like the fake trailer. And
I'll
then
watch
stuff.
that one again.
Yeah, it was that, and then I think like someone's head got served instead of a turkey. Like they uncovered the turkey, but it was someone's head. I think was the trailer too. And then they also like I think it's in this new trailer too, but the like turkey mascot in like a parade gets murdered, and it's just like this guy in the costume, but it's like blood's like gushing out of his head. This like cartoony turkey head. So it's definitely a lot of like like Thanksgiving turkey based kills. Oh, the one in the trailer that was like I don't think I've really seen anything like that before was like when the pilgrim freezes that woman's face to the side of the freezer, like sprays like tosses water on her and then puts her like face against like the ice cold freezer and like freezes her face to it.
That was in the trailer?
In this new trailer, yeah, it's like
Oh.
he throws up like a bucket of water on this woman's face and like shoves her against like this ice cold like -0 freezer door, and her face sticks to the door. So if she wants to get off, she's like rip her skin off to get it off. And yeah, so this is coming out just in time for actual Thanksgiving. It's gonna be out November 17th in theaters. So you can complete the journey, the 16-year journey, and see the full length Thanksgiving. Joining Machete and Hobo with a Shotgun.
Over Shotgun deserves like a rewatch again.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about watching it like at some point just because I was watching the Trailer Park Boys recently.
And the weird thing about Hobo with a Shotgun too is that fake trailer was only in the like Canadian version of Grindhouse. Like it wasn't in like the US version because there was some sort of contest in Canada where they had like filmmakers make fake trailers and then Hobo with a Shotgun won, and then that got turned into an actual movie.
Like a regional one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guys who made Trailer Park Boys made that full one. That's why like a handful of Trailer Park Boy like actors and locations take place in it.
Yeah, they're all in it. Like I think one of them was like the main villain, right? Or like a
couple
other villains, or
I have to look at it again. I don't want to spoil it for myself just because I want to watch it. Like my mind finally like forgot enough where I can watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something like that. That's all I remember because I remember watching it and then going like, why is Ricky in this? He's in it for like a cameo.
Yeah.
And he basically is Ricky from Trailer Park Boys. He's wearing like this. He has the same haircut, the same facial hair. But anyway, yeah, excited for like more Thanksgiving horror movies because it's very limited.
Mm-hmm. Like the most high profile one is probably Thanksgiving, which we watched like a year or two ago, a couple years ago for commentary.
Wasn't there like a second Thanksgiving?
Oh, I think there's been a bunch of Thanksgivings. I think there's like a whole series of them.
Wow.
But man, yeah, that first one was something. So, and I think there's been some Thanksgiving segments in like there's been like like there was like that anthology like movie like Holidays, And then Blumhouse also did like their like Hulu like every month was a new movie for a holiday or like project they did for like a year or two. So I think there's like one or two Thanksgiving based ones for that series. I can't remember what it was called. that Hulu like Blumhouse collaboration.
It's like some like
Into the Dark.
Into the Dark. I was thinking something holiday, but like because technically
Well,
everything about
yeah, they were all the movies were based on like a holiday or like a kind of overall theme
a
for like what
national
month it was.
celebration. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
I
like
just remember April Fool's Day was such a weird movie.
yeah, and there's one I think toward the end, like it was April or May or March, and like one of the movies was like it wasn't based on a holiday, it was just the general idea of like spring.
Well, you watch. How many of those did you watch?
I was watching like the first couple ones for like every month I watched whatever one came out, and I kind of like fell off after a little bit. I definitely
I know the New Year's one wasn't bad.
yeah.
When the guy carries a dead body through like all these New Year's celebration.
Well, that was the very first one. That was Halloween.
Oh, that was a Halloween?
And that was the whole point of that one was like, oh yeah, this hitman is like dragging a body, but like no one cares because it's Halloween, so they all think it's just a costume.
Ah. Yeah, I just remember then like the Christmas one was Puka, which was weird.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could probably watch these randomly, but yeah, like I'm surprised like the criticism was like fair. It was like, all right, 2 seasons, and then we're done for now. Like we gotta figure this out again.
Yeah, I think I got to like maybe the summer, like the last couple of season 1, and then I don't think I really watched any of season 2.
Yeah, I didn't watch season 2.
Because they did like a sequel to Puka at one point, and there's a couple other like weird ones toward the end. It wrapped up like March 2021 is when that wrapped up. Yeah, definitely interested in weird holiday based horror movies. And we definitely need more Thanksgiving ones. So definitely interested to see how the trailer translates to a full movie. And then the last trailer for this week is we got the first trailer for The Bike Riders, which maybe Oscar contender, who knows? But it's coming from Jeff Nichols, who previously brought us like movies like Midnight Special and other. He frequently works with Michael Shannon, who's also in The Bike Riders. But this is it's based on a like photo book of like 60s motorcycle gangs, and it's a fictional story about a fictional biker gang in the 60s, the Vandals, and sort of like their rise up from like just a local gang to a major like criminal organization. And you've got Austin Butler and Jodie Comer and Tom Hardy all co-starring together, and a bunch of other like Norman Reedus is in there too, and Michael Shannon, Boyd Holbrook, hot off Justified, yeah, tons of other people. I get very Sons of Anarchy vibes, but maybe like more like slightly more like prestigious Sons of Anarchy, like if Sons of Anarchy was like an Oscar contender maybe or something.
I get it. Like,
But
it's trying to be more dramatic about the biker culture instead of glamorizing the like fun. It's more about like actually keeping the gang together.
well, it's Austin Butler is like he's super loyal to Tom Hardy, but then Tom Hardy's like dragging the gang into like being like criminals, and then it was originally started out as just like it's all about the ride, man, the freedom, the bike, the culture, and now we're like dealing drugs and murdering people, and what have we become, man? Like,
Well, they aren't like a gang, right? Like they're slowly becoming a gang.
Yeah, they started out as just like there's like we're a bunch of guys that like hang out and ride bikes and motorcycles together, and then it's like slowly turns into, well, we're gonna start like these guys pissed off, we're gonna burn their bar down, we're gonna start dealing drugs, we're gonna like steal stuff, we're gonna murder people. Like it's basically,
How much? How far did you watch Sons of Anarchy?
like none. I don't think I've seen like clips by any like
Okay,
really like any episodes.
in terms of their business outreach, they have a huge network. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like it always starts with drugs and guns, and then it like moves on to like, hey, we should like invest in a company, and like because it's like you need to diversify your income besides drug running and then like hang out at a bar. Like a lot of them always start diversifying. Even uh that Sylvester Stallone TV show,
Tulsa King.
Tulsa King, that biker gang diversified.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Well,
fun
I think the conceit about the bike riders too is that like Jodie Comer's like telling this to like a reporter or someone after the fact, so it's like it's years later she's like recounting what happened.
right, yeah, just the being what it was to be in that early stages of biker gangs where they're all like mid-range greasers and people that came back from the war and just didn't
Yeah.
know what to do.
I also do. I love that like Jodie Comer and Tom Hardy are like, and then probably I assume Austin Butler too like are having a kind of like accent off, like who could have the craziest accents.
Yeah, it's like, where's everyone from? Because this is like the Midwest, so where's everyone?
Yeah, everyone is all over the place as far as like just like whatever like voice affectation they put on. But yeah, it looks interesting. It looks good. This can be December 1st in theaters, so you can check that out when it comes out. Could possibly be an Oscar contender. Who knows? So moving on, we got some crazy news from Vulture this week. They had a expose / report about Rotten Tomatoes. They had a big investigation, and apparently there was a PR company called Bunker 15 that has been paying critics to write positive reviews on Rotten Tomatoes for them.
So those tomatoes are rotten.
Yeah, they're fully rotten, even though if they show up fresh on the site. So Bunker 15 was paying people $50 or more for each review. They were going after more like self-published, smaller critics that still showed up on Rotten Tomatoes. So it wasn't like they're paying like the New York Times or other like big media companies or like IGN or like big YouTubers. This is like people like us. Like I don't know how we didn't get like like some of this like.
We could have got some sweet bribe money.
Bread, yeah. I'll write a positive review for whatever for $50. But yeah, the big example they are talking about is in 2018 there was a Daisy Ridley movie called Ophelia, which was kind of like a retelling of Hamlet, and there was an early screening, and there was like 13 reviews for this early screening, and it was a lot of the bigger or like people who were attending like whatever like film festival was at or this early screening. It had a 46% Rotten Tomatoes after those reviews, and so that's obviously rotten because it's anything below 60% is rotten. So then Bunker 15 went and paid a bunch of these smaller obscure critics to write a positive review for Ophelia, and that ramped up the score to be like positive, like switched it back over to like being fresh. And apparently they've done that multiple times for multiple other movies. So yeah, it's a crazy, like the entire like integrity of Rotten Tomatoes is like, I think it's already in question because like it was already
a lot of people were wondering
metric,
what was going on.
Yeah. There's a great on YouTube Dan Merle who was on Screen Junkies and like movie fight stuff. He has his own YouTube channel, and he's been doing like this like a feature where it's like Rotten Tomatoes decoded, where it's like the score, so like the like percentage score. If you actually like look at the actual like because like all the critics give it a score from like 1 to 10. So if a movie's like like 80% fresh, but some of the scores might be like 7s or 8, like 6 or 7, which is still fresh, but it's not like a like super like ecstatic reviews of the movie. It's just like it's barely fresh, but because of like they're like fresh rotten, like it's either fresh or rotten, and that's it. It really like skews like the like perception of movies. Because you could have a movie that's like 96% fresh, but like 70% of those reviews could be like, it's fine. I give it a 7, but
well, that's why
it's fresh. So
isn't it the critical review more important than the like critics review for Rotten Tomatoes? Because isn't that just like anyone could just write one?
Well, you gotta look. So like if you're just looking at the score, like just like the 30% fresh, 31% fresh, the tomato meter, that's like not really an accurate metric. I mean, it'll give you like a general idea of like if people liked it or not. But then if you look at the actual like critic scores, like if it's a super high rating, like if it's like 90% fresh, a lot of the critics could have been like actually like really lukewarm on it. They just gave it a fresh review, and that it's like, oh, it's fresh, and 90% of the critics said it's fresh. But so like a 90 80-90% fresh around like tomato meter might not mean like it's like critics were like, oh, this is the best movie ever made. Like it could just be like they're like, it's fine.
I mean, I get it when you just kind of one worded and you give your random opinion, but you have to be a really good critic for that like low description, high score.
Yeah.
I feel like there should be a rule about that. Like short praise from a known critic carries more weight, but if you're just some rando that is just review bombing a movie, like either inflating it or bombing it, like there's got to be like a caliber. But that's what I mean, like about these reviews, like you have to actually read the reviews, understand what they like quote, like, and that takes skill.
Yeah.
At least we take our time to explain, like, it's not great, but you like it like this. That's why it's really hard to go with like a rating, like especially when it's numbered. It should really be sort of like a pros and cons, and then the number only is good if you believe like a fair system.
Yeah, and also like so many like studios and so many like I don't know if there's like bonuses attached to it, but like people are just looking at the tomato meter and that's it. And then, so it's like, oh, 31%. It's like, oh, this movie is like 40% fresh. It sucks. It's terrible. But then people might watch it and be like, oh no, it's actually like this is actually like good, or it could have been like the reviews were like really marginal. Like it could have been like really like it could have went either way with the review, and the critics were just like, I'm gonna give this a rotten, even though it's like like I thought it's like it was okay, but I'm slightly more rotten than fresh on it, so I'm gonna give it a rotten.
Yeah. Like, oh, this movie's good, but like it's not great,
Yeah.
And then you're just like, what do you review that? Like if Rotten Tomatoes was kind of like poking holes into this, but like I learned that lesson from IGN when IGN was being paid to review games for high scores, and then like the reviewers being like punished for not giving them high reviews or giving them like what they were expecting to get sales to the door. But it's like that just looks bad on everybody if you do. It's like this was getting an 8 out of 10. You play and like, holy crap, no, it isn't. So it's like eventually it catches up. Like bad reviews do, like weird out of nowhere reviews do catch up with them. It's not like the old days where someone posted a review and there's no like real trace to see if this person's real or not. Do you remember like in GamePro or I think even EGM had it? It was like there was always a random reviewer that just had like Mystery X or like Ninja X or something. It was just like a random
Sushi X, yeah.
Yeah, Sushi X. It was just like, oh, this is Sushi X's opinion. And I think that could just been anyone in the company at the time that just needed to put a review down. So it's like, all right, like, and then that person really can't get punished. But I know EGM can get punished if like a publisher is like, hey, why are their games getting low reviews? Like, well, these are bad games.
I think that might have just happened recently with like Starfield, because like some of the like outlets that maybe were like more critical to Bethesda like didn't get review codes like as soon as some other outlets that maybe were like more would maybe give Bethesda a better score. Because there's some big outlets that didn't get review codes. Like they were like blacklisted by Bethesda until like
Really?
they actually like yeah.
Is it because of Starfield or something else in the past?
I think it might be just maybe they were more critical of like their like other Bethesda games in the past. They're like, well, we're not gonna like give like these early reviews. We want like the Metacritic score to be higher, so we get that boost out the gate.
I get it. I understand the game. Everyone's gaming the average, and Metacritic is weird, even stranger, because don't they aggregate like reviews from random sources, so you never know exactly where they're getting it from. Like who's the big factor for the time? I think they just take an average.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff's a mess. Yeah, like, and there's been like no comment from Rotten Tomatoes. I don't think
I know,
I couldn't find them responding to this at all, like or saying like, oh, we're gonna like investigate and like update our critic acceptance program, or how we take critics into like our system and make them actual critics. Like nothing. Like it's dead silence from Rotten Tomatoes. So I don't know.
but it's very strange that they're gonna like it's kind of exposed, right? Like the fact that this scandal happened and they should have done like a PR cleanup like immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But they're just like kind of waiting to see if it blows over. But it's like, like all of you is kind of people that what I mean, like they didn't get in front of this in time. I don't know. This was us. And they're like, hey, your reviews are like you're being paid to review this, and we're like, what? Like, no, something.
It's also
deny or confirm.
There's a super weird comment from I think it was the founder of like this PR company who said, "Oh yeah, we have a system where they can pay filmmakers and sponsor pay to have people review a film." It's like, what? You're just straight up admitting it? Like, why would you even why would you admit that? That's like,
well, it's a Hail Mary pass to get other companies to try to be like, oh, okay, like we'll normalize this, like, and then it's kind of like, I mean, we're guilty of this sometimes when we put like sponsored posts or something, but at least you tell them and it's not something we're reading. It's sort of like, hey, this is a sponsored ad, but essentially that's what the review is. It's a sponsored ad for this movie. So.
Yep. Oh, and they were also paying people who already reviewed it negatively to change their review to a positive review, because you can.
I did see that.
If you're a critic on Rotten Tomatoes, you can request that they change like the Rotten Fresh, flip it the other way if they want.
Yeah, I did see that, which I understand if you're trying to bribe someone to fix the thing, and it's like as shady as that is, I get it, because like I'll enjoy anything if I get paid for it more, It's like, oh, hey, ooh. So yeah, like that's not right. You're definitely gaming the system when you're bribing someone to do like a fix, but that's what if the company has enough money to do it. I don't know. I just feel, Rotten Tomatoes was already on the fence for a lot of people when they did review, when they said, certain movies were bad, and the critics were like, "You're insane. No, it's not." And now we have one where it's like, if that's happening, does that mean like other companies are paying other people to write bad reviews intentionally to ruin like other movies?
I mean, who knows what's going on? If this is like tip of the iceberg, maybe, of just like what else is like going on with Rotten Tomatoes. Because I mean, that's right. I mean, Rotten Tomatoes is a huge marketing thing. They put like if a movie's fresh, it's certified fresh, like on the poster, in the trailer. Like,
yep. You know what they stopped doing? I realized this. When they used to stop people at malls or in the like court of the movie hall and then get their testimony right there. But it's like these people have been like given a free movie. Of course, you're gonna say something exciting. I mean, averagely, someone's gonna be like, "No, that movie was terrible." Like, and they're like, "Okay, we gotta cut that from like the film."
That needs to come. That type of trailer needs to come back. We need like the ridiculous audience reaction. I'm just like walking out here like, that was the best movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, they stopped doing that, and I think that's gonna come back now because you can't Rotten Tomato that. But then for all I know, I mean, people aren't wandering around malls for free movies lately. I haven't heard about that in a while. Like I remember
Yeah.
like in New York at the time, there's like, oh hey, you want to see a free movie? Come to the mall, and it's like, okay, then they'll film the reaction for like a shitty '90s movie. It's like, wow, this is the greatest action movie ever. Beethoven 2.
Yeah, it's like better than the first one. The dogs are so cute. Like,
Yeah, but like getting critic review, and it's like all that does is like really diminish everyone's critical review, no matter what level you are, because it's like there's a chance that you've been bribed, you've been compromised.
yeah, and there's no like, high profile. We don't have like like a Siskel and Ebert anymore.
Yeah, that's true. He couldn't be bribed.
And then because then that was like, people knew like actual critics. Like there's like actual like like super high profile critics that people like trusted, and now people just look at like the score. It's like, oh, 30%, not going to see it. Like they don't read any sort of like other. They don't read any like individual reviews. They just look at the score and be like, that's my opinion now. That the movie's terrible. I'm not gonna go see it, but I'm gonna assume it's terrible and not see it.
Well, that
There's
wasn't that
and
like
there's
the TV show The Critic. It was that. It was like he's a famous critic that he was
Mhm.
beloved and hated.
Yeah.
So like, is there anyone else? Like we haven't seen anything like that in a while.
Well, and there's also like I mean, other Rotten Tomatoes says there's been stuff of where, the critical score is terrible, but then the audience score is like super high. So it's like there's like a disconnect between like critics and the audience. And then there's like obviously there's like tons of lists of, oh, this movie got a rotten score, but it's actually awesome. And like critics are wrong about this movie. Just yeah, so much crazy Rotten Tomatoes stuff.
I don't know, Zach. Now's our perfect time that we can be our own like every action tomato scores. But I'm trying to think of another like stupid fruit or vegetable to like.
Well, it's gotta be like bullets or explosions or something, or
Or it's like
throat rips.
bombs or dynamite or something like that. Like
different
duds
different
or
different different levels. It's like firecracker, stick of dynamite, uh, grenade, nuclear bomb. Like,
Oppenheimer level nuke.
this
Yeah,
is a
nuke.
nuclear bomb.
Like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Like, shit.
This movie's a
Because back when
bomb.
movies were bombs, it's like bad movies, right? And
Yeah.
then it's like, yeah, we can't use explosions. It's already equal to bad movies. But we'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
We'll call it firepower.
So anyway, last bit of news this week is there's going to be a game based on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Speaking of movies that got super high Rotten Tomatoes scores.
I don't know now.
Yeah, who knows? Having seen it, I like it. It was an awesome movie, so I do trust that that's the highest score for that movie at least.
But did you get paid to like it, Zach?
Well, I had to pay to see it, so.
Whoa, you don't know how the scam works.
Where's my check, Paramount? I need some of that Paramount money. But yeah, it's gonna. So yeah, it's in the universe of the movie. It's gonna have a sequel. It's gonna follow the storyline or continue the story from the movie, and it's gonna be some sort of new mutant threats threatening New York City, and then you're gonna play as the Turtles. And there's no developer yet, but it's being published by Outright Games, who published Peppa Pig World Adventures, Transformers Battlegrounds, and Ben 10 Power Trip. So lots of licensed games under their belts. And it's gonna come out next year on console and PC. Which I don't know if that seems kind of rushed. It seems like they kind of like just decided to do this now, and it wasn't like planned before the movie came out or anything. It's just like, oh, that movie got critical like reception. It didn't do. I mean, it's obviously still in theaters, but like, I don't think it's doing like Paramount like we're kind of hoped it was doing. It's doing fine, but it's not doing crazy box office
It's
levels.
not a Marvel movie.
No.
But it's fine. It's gonna be beloved. It's not gonna be like, let's build a theme park around this one thing.
Well, they're going all in on Mutant Mayhem. Like, now we have this game, but they also announced there's definitely a sequel movie on the way, and then also the 2 seasons of a Paramount like Plus show, are also on the way in the Mutant Mayhem universe. So like, Paramount is going and Nickelodeon are going all in on Mutant Mayhem.
Partially that I can understand. I just feel like they should do a first season before they do a 2-season commit, because like a movie, yeah.
I just understand. Hopefully they don't like just run this new franchise in the ground, because it's so like fresh and fun, and interesting, and they're just gonna like we're bringing every drop of like money out of this and like that we can get, and like we're bringing all like the creativity out of it. And now it's just like this another just like TMT product.
Yeah, like, no offense to the other TMNT show that came out, but like they barely did any like other products with it. Like it had the one where like Ralph is in charge.
Rise of the TMNT.
Yeah, like they have the Netflix movie that's coming out, or came out already. I don't know, but it
came out a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and then during that time, they did nothing with like food tie-in, nothing with like.
There was obviously there was toys. There was tons of like action figures for that show.
But like it just didn't go full force. Like Mutant Mayhem had like plushies and like ads, and then like a slushie you can get at AMC, and like it was a whole like campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fun to see that, but like when it translates to TV, it becomes a different game. So I don't want it to like lose the momentum where it's like, now the TV show, and you're like, okay. I'm wondering, like, are these voice actors committed for the whole thing, or just the movie versions?
I think they are. I think they're all coming back for the show. They're obviously back for the movie.
Wow, we're gonna watch these kids grow up from kids to teens.
Too. Yeah. So yeah, hopefully all this stuff is keeps up the quality level of Mutant Mayhem, and we'll have to see more about this game, because there's basically no info except that it's coming out soon.
Besides, it's a game.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously everyone is more excited for the Last Ronin game, because that's going to be a big AAA Ninja Turtles mature game. Like it's basically God of War with turtles. So is that next year too, or is that like, I think it's like a couple years off, right? Last Ronin game.
Yeah, like at least 2.
2025 or something, I think they said, maybe. But yeah, so that's it for news this week. So I want to jump into show and tell. And Chris, what did you watch over the last week or so here?
So I finally caught a murder mystery movie that I've been dying to see, just because it's like nowhere to be found. The Radioland Murders. You ever heard of that?
Maybe.
It's a George Lucas produced murder mystery that like flew under the radar. I think in the last few years, like it's sort of like in a lot of lists of like, hey, did you like Clue? Did you like Knives Out? Check out this movie. And it's a very interesting like concept, because at the time it came out, it's got like a full all-star cast of random actors, and then like famous people playing bit roles, and then like comedians of the old times. So it's like a love letter to radio, like drama and comedy, and like how that production was, and then a satire of how entertainment is evolving, on top of like a murder mystery that happens. So the movie takes place in 1939, right when a new radio network is starting in Chicago, and on their premiere night, the people at this like production company are like pretty much doing everything they can to get this like opening night done. You got these writers that are just like burnt out from just writing scripts and trying things. You have a censor who is trying to constantly change things from the whim of like, hey, I don't like this is bad marketing, blah blah blah. Like we're not gonna go with this angle. Like they're constantly at war with that, and it kind of becomes like there's different like vignettes of like if this was just like not a murder mystery, this would be a different show, a different moment because it's like 30 Rock mashed with like a soap opera mashed with like I guess like you know that Rocketeer s 1930s early 40s like hockey and like just the like lingo and all that like it's like it's it's a period piece and then it's got just a murder mystery that sort of makes sense at times but it's a movie that like kind of focuses in and out of it and it's a good like who's done it but I can see why when this came out this did like terribly like this movie was written by George Lucas, produced by George Lucas, and like I guess his usual group of friends, and then like it's got at least four different screenwriters, and then directed by Mel Smith, who, if I get this right, uh, yeah, he did a lot of like English comedies, and then he did what was he known for? Not a lot. He did not direct a lot of movies. Wait, he directed the goddamn Bean movie, the Mr. Bean movie. So yeah, so there's an air of like British comedy to the pacing and the tone that I don't mind. But in 1994, I could see why if you show this, like if you show this movie now, it'd probably do a lot better. But back then, this was just like way too like wordy and not enough like slapsticks. And then I feel like there's a giant rewrite that happens in the middle of the movie or like near the end where like we need like physical comedy out of nowhere. But anyway, so what happens is it's like it's like the Muppet Show too, where basically everyone's rushing to kind of put things together. There's so many different zany characters that like you kind of just want to follow something, but it's like let's follow everything at once. However, one of the trumpet players in this band falls over dead from rat poisoning, and it sets off a whole cascade of like other murderers and then like pointing figures within the radio like station and with a live audience. All this is done in front of a live audience. So it's them trying to keep it's the production people trying to keep the facade that everything's going well. It's the radio audience not knowing what is real or what's not because they're just like listening to things. So it's like, oh, okay, like you'll hear announcements and all these weird other sounds coming from the background, and then like then you get these actors who are like trying to like scrub together like bits and pieces from like the writing team they can't get their shit together, like a censor who hates everything, and then a producer who's trying to pull everything together. And it works well if you don't think about the purpose of the murders. Like it's so weird because you think it's gonna be very like Clue, where it's like, oh, like you had to kill this person to do this, and then this person do that. It's sort of like it seems really random, and then I can see why like it's not the top like murder mystery thing, just because it's so like shoehorned in of what the murder is, but they do a good job of like taking its time. Like it definitely feels like the third act, and then at a certain point they're like, how do we explain this? But the way they do it is clever. I give the movie that because this movie, one of the protagonists that you follow is a writer. He uses his like writing creativity to kind of write out the murder mystery, and then based on his writing, he figures out how the murder makes sense. So like, you know what I mean? Like it sort of comes together at the end at a good moment. So I'm like, oh, okay. You just gotta have the patience and have that like appreciation of understanding like he's a creative writer and it's like that's his power. It's sort of like, oh, because he's like a very unconventional like hero. You just kind of don't like him. He's played by Brian Ben Ben. Last name is seriously Ben and then Ben. I'm not pronouncing his last name correctly, but
I think it's Ben.
just Ben weird. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's not the conventional hero, like, but it's sort of like in the character, like you sort of appreciate his humor and his like very dry wit. And it works out to some degree. There's a lot of like slaps that comes out of nowhere, and then it's supposed to be like, vaudeville like comedy. Which is like, is this what George Lucas really wanted to do after Star Wars? He's like, man, I'm gonna make something that's completely out of my league and just get into like a murder mystery. But the message though is pretty fun because it's like entertainment evolves so quickly that when these people think they're on the top of the world in the Radioland, like they have no idea the impact of how TV is gonna affect everything. And that's like that's like the bigger murder where it's like, oh, radio is gonna get murdered by TV, and then they should really make another version of this and where it's like the like TV land murders and it's just like internet killing the TV.
Mm.
But again, it's something that I don't think everyone needs to go run out and see. But if you are a like fan of Clue and you're a fan of that like almost not wholesome whodunit, but it's easy to follow without a goddamn like web of like confusion and then like a lot of motivation of like why these murder happens. Like I think even Knives Out had like a weirdly bizarre one where it's like the idea and all that. Like, oh, not Glass Onion. Glass Onion, like I want to compare to Glass Onion a little bit only because it's in a fixed setting. It's only like one person that could possibly have done it, but it's also about like one or two murders in that one. Radioland Murders, there's like five murders. So it's hilarious to see what the next murder is because it's like it escalates and then there's a bigger premise on like no one's safe in who you're watching, or at least a good amount. If it's not like the two main characters, like anyone's still up in the like potential to be like knocked off.
Mm-hmm.
And the casting's pretty fun. Like besides Brian Benben, like Ned Beatty is in it. He's pretty fun. He's this like uh he's the owner of the radio station and he's very militant, but he's just like he's trying to smooth these sponsors, so he's like very distracted. Then you get Bobcat Goldthwait, who has a very small role, and he's just Bobcat Goldthwait. He's just his animal character. He does a screechy talk. He does it's a very 90s
Mm-hmm.
comedical thing, and it's like it kind of works for what this movie is, but like they use him just enough.
Apparently, also was
Uh,
the final appearance of George Burns.
George Burns is in it and just doing a George Burns skit. I mean, at this point,
Yeah,
he's like 90 something. He's
yeah.
just making like,
This is his final movie.
yep. It's not bad. This movie's like a nice ode to the era from the olden days and then appreciating radio. So there is a point where like I get it now, and I only say that by seeing a lot of other movies and then just like seeing how entertainment has changed from like 1994 to now and just like the things they're making fun of, what they got right, what they didn't, like because they're not worried about radio. They're like, no, radio will never leave. Like it's about the creativity. Like what we do here, like will last forever. It's just like, I don't know. So it's again like no one has this on streaming. I had to like rent this from Amazon. I had like credits. So
Mm-hmm.
like and then like if you had to buy a copy, I'm not sure you want to see this movie more than once in a while. It's a very like see this movie like every 10 years. Just to appreciate it, see if it still holds up. I say like in terms of like if you're a big fan of Clue, this is a good third runner up if you just want to see another Clue like thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun because like there's some like nods, sort of nods to it, and then like I think like Christopher Lloyd's in this,
And
and
Michael
it's like
McKean looks like
hmm?
it's Michael McKean and Christopher Lloyd are in it. So
Yeah. So like there's some Clue things. Michael McKean has like a fun like you think he'd be bigger in this thing, but he's not. He's got like a few lines, and the rest of him is just playing in a band. But he's got like great expressions. He's chewing gum during this, and he's just like having fun. That's another thing too. This movie looks like a lot of people had fun making it.
mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem like a lot of this was like that strenuous besides talking like an old timey person and then just wearing loose fitted clothes. Uh and yeah, like Another thing is Larry Miller is in this, and Larry Miller doesn't really get like a lot of prime spot, but like I'm a fan of Larry Miller whenever I see him in things. Like they use him correctly in a lot of places. So to watch him like in this, and he's pretty much just like this German guy, and then like I thought about this, like I think this is the same time he lost his out on being in Seinfeld. Because he was supposed to be like George Costanza. He like auditioned to be George Costanza.
Yeah.
So when I was watching this, I was like, oh, like this is maybe a few years right after like Seinfeld took off, and then now he's just like Larry Miller's doing this. But it's fun. Like like they're bit characters you follow, and you follow them, you enjoy their bit, and like there's enough screen time. But it's hard to talk about because I don't want to spoil it, and also it's like hard to spoil because like even then I can't explain why. Like who did it, because then it's like a lot of reasoning, and then it's like they just like rush past that to get to this weird ending that like I could see like it's not the most satisfying ending. It's just like it happens. You're like, well, they just had a bunch of effects laying around, so let's just try to do zany like set pieces, and I'm like, just because you have Skywalker Ranch doesn't mean you have to use all of Skywalker Ranch. But yeah, it's hard. Like again, saw it one time. I feel like if I watch it more than that, like maybe I'll have like a stronger opinion. But because I watch Clue so much that basically it's just like I love that movie, even if people regard it as like terrible, but it hasn't. This movie just hasn't had a lot of like eyes on it because I think in 1994 this movie came out. It made only 1.3 million out of a budget 15. So this bombed terribly in theaters.
Yeah, I think
I feel like it's a lost gem.
I think I've vaguely heard the name, like, but I've never really. I don't even think I knew. I didn't know what it was or what it. I didn't know it was done it. I didn't know like had all-star people in it. So
yeah, there's a lot of all-star people, and like it's just like completely like a missed gem. I believe now. That's because like I was in the mood for like a murder mystery, and I've been looking forward to seeing this. And then just like I said, well, it's never coming on streaming. I just don't think it's worth owning yet because they did like a 25th anniversary DVD in 2019. Oh, like oh no, sorry, a Blu-ray.
Oh, actually, yeah, Blu-ray. I'm shocked you've got a Blu-ray.
Yeah, but it's nowhere streaming. I don't know. It's like slapstick enough that I think like if you're not really in the mood for murder mystery, just seeing the ensemble of it. And again, I just think like it hurts the story because it takes a while because it's like it's like the beginning is like a Muppets like episode of just like all these zany people like complain about their problems and you just gotta follow the drama. And then it's like, okay, now the murder mystery, but then it's just like super long and drawn out that you're like, oh yeah, there's a murder mystery happening. It's not just like random problems happening because like the first death, they don't consider it like a murder yet, like a murder mystery. They're just like, oh shit, that guy died. Anyway, like keep going. So it takes a while, but I think it's okay. It's definitely hard to tell from the cast who is the villain, but when you see it, it's like okay, that's all right. Otherwise, that's it for me. What about you, Zach?
So I saw a couple things. I went out to the theaters and saw The Equalizer 3 for this past Labor Day holiday weekend. Which have you seen the previous two Equalizer movies, Chris?
I have. I've seen one. I saw two like maybe last few months. I just randomly caught it.
I completely forgot Pedro Pascal is like the villain of Equalizer 2.
And that's because they were running like their own ops or something, right?
Yeah. I watched there was like a kind of like recap, but it wasn't really a recap. But like it was like officially like somebody put it out like here's what you need to know for like Equalizer 3, and then and they had like clips of it, and like oh yeah, Pedro Pascal was like the bad guy, but Equalizer 2 I forgot. The only thing I remember about Equalizer 2 was like the final fight was in that like it was in the hurricane, so there was this big like final action sequence during a hurricane. But Equalizer 3 is I think if you enjoyed the first two, you'll definitely enjoy this one. It's you get a lot of the same stuff you get from the first two. Like if you just want to see like Denzel just like murder guys and be like Denzel. And so basically the setup for this is that he's, Robert McCall is still doing his Equalizer things. He's on a mission in Sicily, and he takes down this like some sort of crime boss in his winery or his vineyard, and then on when he's trying to get out of the vineyard, he gets shot in the back by this like the crime boss's like young son, who just runs off. But then McCall has like this like he's got like this, life-threatening injury, and then he makes it to like this small town called Altamonte, and then the local doctor like helps him, and then he's recovering this very like charming, nice Italian town, and then he starts to like enjoy like the people there and like the way of life there, and so he's finally like is like, oh, is this a place I could forget the violence and live in peace? But then the violence finds him because this town's being like terrorized by like the Camorra, which is like a branch of like the mafia, and so then he has to get back.
Camorra was like an Italian branch that like even John Wick like used a reference to.
Yeah. So they're harassing this town. They're trying to like extort the residents. They're like terrorizing them. So then McCall has to go back into like Equalizer mode again and like take on the mafia. And that's pretty. It's the most bare. It's just a super simple plot, and it's not even like most movies have like the plot is like a curve or it goes up and then down. This is just like a line going like angling up. Like it's just like the bad guys keep doing bad things until a certain point where like McCall just like starts taking them on, and then that's it. That's the movie.
That's his limit, and he's like, well, time to fuck up this like neighboring mob.
There's no twists. There's no no major. It's just the plot is just McCall is in this town. He likes the town. The mafia's terrorizing town. He kills the guys. He's like taking on the guys that are like terrorizing town. That's it. That's Equalizer 3. But
no connection to his previous life. No connection to friends or anything.
Well, obviously it's like the events of like the previous movies happened, but you could probably go into Equalizer 3 not knowing anything about the either two movies and be like perfectly fine, because it's just like a straightforward revenge action movie.
Interesting. Wait, so did he leave his house in Delaware or wherever he was in the second movie? He just moved away from that?
He lived in Boston in the first movie, right? And then he lived in, I forget where he was in, like was he in like DC or something in the second movie?
He had like a town, like a beach town. He had like him and his wife had a house there. He like moved into it back home. Like that was the point.
Yeah.
And then he moves out.
Well, he was on he's on this whatever mission he's on in the beginning of this movie, and then he kind of like as he's recovering from like his injury, he's like, oh, this could be my this could be my home where I stay for and not have to murder people.
I don't have to equalize anymore.
Yeah. And I think this one more than like the other ones really makes like Robert McCall like a horror movie slasher villain, on the side of good. Like he is very Michael Myers in this one. Like he's stalking guys in the shadows, like he's stabbing them with like various sharp objects. And it's almost like there's not really like traditional like shootouts or like car chases or fights, but it's more like horror movie like kill sequences or like horror movie like sequences in this movie. Where it's McCall he'll turn off the power in the house, and then he's just lurking in the background, and he'll grab a knife from the kitchen and stab a guy in the back of the head with the knife, and then find a poker a fireplace cue and stab someone with, into the back of the head. It comes out the guy's mouth or something, or so he's he's finally he's definitely much more of a good slasher. He's if Michael Myers was on the side of good, that'd be Robert McCall in this movie.
Which he still do his watch thing?
he does that like in like the beginning, like in the opening sequence, which actually the opening is pretty cool because you see like the aftermath of like him like infiltrating this whole like winery, and there's just like guys just like laid out everywhere, and there's like a guy with like a knife in his head, like a butcher knife just like in his face, and then people with like gunshot wounds like just lying around this entire house. So, like, and like the main like the like crime boss guy that owns like the winery is just like walking through his house where he just sees like all of his guys are just like horribly murdered, and then you like then he comes into the basement where like they're like holding Robert McCall in the basement, and then he does his like he's already like planned out the situation so he knows exactly what he's gonna do, and then he like kills everybody. But they only do that in the first sequence, and then the rest of it is kind of just like it's definitely it's much more of like it's horror movie styling where it's just like he's striking from the shadows. He's using lots of various sharp implements to like take people down.
What weapons does he have? Just anything he finds laying around the town?
Yeah, he just goes in like one of the big like toward the end, like he's just like he's like villain's house. He's just using like there's like like a fireplace, like a poker, and he just picks that up and like stabs the guy like straight through the back of the head with it. Like it comes at the front of the guy's head, and then just using like kitchen knives or like he has a silenced pistol he uses a couple times, but he's just like finding just like whatever can like murder someone in a house. He's just like picking it up and like killing guys like from stalking them from the shadows. Which I definitely enjoy that more than like trying to like make him still seem like a super spry, like he can like fight guys hand to hand, because I Denzel's in what is like his 70s probably, I think, at this point.
Easily.
Yeah. So I definitely this approach is much more like satisfying and like better than like trying to like make Liam Neeson like jump over a fence with like 50 different edits. Like
yeah, to make him seem like he's sprawly enough.
Yeah, this is so far beyond any recent Liam Neeson movie. Like this, because it still makes Denzel like a super badass, but you don't have to like try to like figure out a way to like body doubles or try to figure out a way to like make it seem like he's like doing all that stuff. It's just like he is so skilled and so horrifying that he just like he's basically just like like a Jason or like a Michael Myers, but on the a force for good. So it's definitely check it out. It's if you like the first two, it's a super solid like thriller. It's not definitely not the best action movie of the year by any means, but like if you enjoyed Denzel, if you enjoyed Equalizer movies, it's fun. It's fine. And I guess this is the final one. So this is like a cool kind of send off for this trilogy.
Does it end on a like satisfying note, or is it more like he will return?
Yeah, there's no like he will like here's the setup for a new one. It's just like he's like he's maybe found like like what he's been looking for, which is like kind of like forget his like dark past and like maybe like find an actual home somewhere. And and the bad guys are just like they're so ridiculously evil that it's just like super cathartic and just like satisfying just to see like Denzel just like destroy them all in like the most like horrific ways possible. Like there's some crazy gore, crazy violence. Like people are getting their hands chopped off, heads are getting shot like embedded with knives. Like people are getting like run through with like various objects. Like it's crazy. But yeah, so I saw that. I also finally checked out Heart of Stone on Netflix, which was their attempt at a huge kind of summer blockbuster. This is their like big August release on Netflix, and this is the Gal Gadot, globe-trotting espionage, trying to be like Mission Impossible style. But it's definitely on the scale of like Mission Impossible to like other espionage things. This is definitely more toward like the like Citadel side of things, where it's fine, it's like perfectly cromulent, but like it's not interesting or unique in any way. Like it does like everything you've seen in this movie, other movies have done 10 times better. Like the plot is like bare bones and like not interesting. The action's fine, but it's not like, oh man, I've never seen this before. This is like crazy exciting. Like it's one of those movies where you watch it and then like an hour later you'll forget most of it what happened in it because it's just so unmemorable and bland. Very very much like Citadel. Like it's definitely like Citadel, same thing where it's like, oh, this like looks good, and like as you're watching it, it's kind of fun, but then like yeah, you forget it as soon as you finish done watching it, you forget it, and like it's not. It's
so
just like
what is her like background? Is she like a super like I'm trying to figure what made her what's her gimmick?
So this is it's super similar to Citadel or like Kingsman or like one of those things where there is a international espionage agency that doesn't like answer to any government called the Charter, and their gimmick, well, it's basically they have two gimmicks. So they have quote unquote the Heart, which is like an AI system that is it's basically a Fast and Furious level like tech like tech nonsense gadget where it literally has every bit of data, every video feed, everything you could possibly get off from like the internet or like technology, and so it's like feeding all this data into like the Heart, and then the Heart is able to like predict what will happen. So the Charter uses that to like all their agents have like a heads up display, and it tells them like if you go this route, you'll have a 95% chance of succeeding, but if you go this way, it's like 80%. So you want to go this way, or it's like if you do something, it's like, oh, your percentage has dropped like 10%. The Heart says you got to do this to like keep on the mission or whatever. So they're like relying totally on the Heart to like tell them what to do, and the Heart is like predicting like, oh, there's gonna be a terrorist attack here, so like, we need to get people here to like stop this terrorist attack, whatever. But then their other gimmick is that they're like playing card based. So like Gal Gadot is like the Nine of Hearts, and there's like 4 different teams operating in different areas of the world. So there's like the Hearts, the Hearts, clubs, spades, diamonds, and they're all different. And then each group has like a king that is like the head of them. But like they don't really explain like why playing cards. Like it's just like a weird gimmick. Like they had to come up with a gimmick for like this agency. So it's like, oh yeah, they're playing card based. But they don't. There's no explanation of like, if you're a higher number or higher rank, does that mean you're like higher in the agency, or like how do you like if you're a rookie, are you a 2? Like they don't explain any of that. It's just like, oh yeah, there's playing cards. We're playing cards.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we're playing card theme. Like, oh,
yeah.
Does that signify rank? Like, no. Okay.
I mean, I guess because the kings are the heads of it, so you have to you like mentally like you as the audience like have to like assume like, I guess like the higher rank you are in the suits is how high you are in the agency, but they don't explain it at all. This movie could have used like I mean it's also a cliche, but like the rookie agent coming in and be like, and then they explain like, oh yeah, we're the Charter, this is what we do, like this is why we're based on playing cards, like. But yeah, Gal Gadot is she's the Nine of Hearts. She's like an agent for the Charter, but then she's undercover with MI6. And then like, so if there's a mission for the Charter that involves like MI6, then she's kind of like steers that mission the way the Charter wants, and then but she's working with this MI6 team who don't know that she's like with the Charter.
A secret agent in the
she's a secret agent. She's not double agent. She's not like working against MI6. She's just like is like they think she's like MI6, but she's like trying to help them succeed, but she's also like working for the Charter. And if something in the mission like goes against the Charter objective, then they want her to do that and not help MI6. But then she's conflicted because she likes her team
on MI6.
Yeah. And it's also hilarious too, because like when it starts out, there's like this a big opening action sequence, obviously, because that's what you do with these movies. And then when it starts, like Gal Gadot's undercover persona is that she is like a computer hacker who never goes on missions. So they make it's like, oh, she's the nerd who doesn't go on missions. I was just like, wait, what?
It's like very obviously like attractive,
Yeah,
probably
this
fit like
yeah,
person
like
in the group.
supermodel secret agent, like, but she's like, oh, I've never been on a mission before. I just hack computers. I'm just a tech person. And I was like, is this like, is she like is this is she the movie gonna be like, oh, she like learns to be a secret agent? Like, beginning of the movie, she's like, oh yeah, I don't go on missions. I'm super scared about going out of the van because like they're like, stay in the van, don't go out of the van. You gotta stay on do the computers. But then you find out, oh no, she's like a crazy, Ethan Hunt level like secret agent for the Charter. She had like it's better than all the MI6 team combined. Like, but then you find out there's someone who is hacking into the heart, and there's people who want to steal the heart and use it for like their own uh objectives. And so that's kind of like, and then like similar to what happened on Citadel, like it like pretty early on, like the heart does get stolen, and then it's like, oh, the charter's like under attack. It's like dissolving. We have to get the heart back, or else the entire charter's gonna be destroyed. And then like Gal Gadot, it turns out, is like like one of the last agents left. It's active in the field, so like obviously that she's like the one that has like do everything, because like everyone else is like being like killed because because the heart is like now telling the bad guys like where everyone is, or they're using it to like find out where everyone is, and like so like they're like destroying like the like infrastructure of the Charter.
So she's
But
kind of like on her own from her
yeah,
other agency.
yeah. But yeah, it's fine when you're watching it. It's fine. Like there's some in the moment cool sequences. There's like a cool fight on like this like I think it's like a glass zeppelin that's like that like it's like a fight on and inside of at one point. And the opening's kind of cool because it's like it's very like James Bondy. There's like it involves like like skiing and like ski bikes and stuff, and it's in like this like the Italian Alps. But I mean, it's nothing like that you haven't seen before in other things or done better in other things, and the plot is super generic and like you see the twist coming from a mile away, and it's just like
Wait,
so.
so does she put on a weird spy suit like in Citadel? Don't they have like a Citadel spy outfit that they wear?
I don't know. She just kind of like kind of like espionage esque like tactical stuff. Is that? But I mean, not tactical. She's not like in like body armor or anything. But it's like, oh, I'm in this like hoodie. I'm in this like like hoodie like pants setup that'll let me fight, but like is loose enough to let me fight. But it's not like she's not in like crazy like future tech like costumes or anything.
Hmm.
And then and then just all the technology is like so stupid. It's like Fast and Furious level stupid. I'm just like, they don't like, whoever wrote this is just like they don't understand how technology works, or they're just like, oh, it does everything. It's an algorithm. Like you just gotta say algorithm, and that AI algorithm. That's all you gotta say, and that explains everything.
Crowd technology, hula
It's
hoops, internet.
it's very much like the heart is basically like I think was it Fast and Furious 9, like that like satellite that it's like, oh, whoever controls this can like take over every single technology on the planet. Like it's basically what the heart is. It's like it predicts the future, but also like controls every single device on the, like it can hack phones, computers, cars, buildings, like anything you possibly think of. It can like control and hack and take over and do whatever you need to do. It can do. But yeah, I mean, if you're on Netflix, if it's like a lazy Sunday or something, you're looking for like a decent espionage kind of like Mission Impossible light esque movie, it's fine. If you haven't seen stuff like Extraction 2 yet or anything, like obviously watch that way before this.
Yeah, I would say Extraction is high on the list to go watch as an action movie.
Yeah, I would say this is like, as far as like Netflix original action movies, this is like mid tier, middle of the range. Like there's been some that are they're like absolutely terrible, but this is like, perfectly fine. And then also on Netflix, the last thing I watched is I finally saw The Woman King, which came out last year,
Mm-hmm.
which was pretty good. It reminded me a lot of like 90s historical movie like epics, like Gladiator or Braveheart or something. It kind of had that kind of feel to it, where it's like this epic with like big like historical battles and this like ancient like ancient kingdom um but also like plot wise like kind of like some like cliches, some like soap opera things going on with the plot. So but yeah, but I think you definitely, if you enjoyed like 90s kind of historical epics, yeah, definitely this one will like kind of scratch that itch.
Was there a lot of action? Because I feel like this is like 3 action set pieces for that movie.
There's well, there's a lot of training. There's a lot of training montages and training, because that's kind of like the main thrust is like there's a new recruit to like the Joey, who are like the like the female warrior group that like for the kingdom of Dahomey, which they inspired like Black Panther, which is it's kind of weird. It's sort of like a John Carter situation, because we've seen like the Dora Milaje in like all the MCU movies, and
Mm-hmm.
then this is what inspired that, but then this seems like derivative of that because this came out after all that stuff. But the actual historical warriors inspired them. So
Yeah,
it's kind of like John Carter felt like a ripoff of like Star Wars, but that Star Wars and everything ripped John Carter off.
but because they did it first, yeah, it just
and
doesn't seem right.
and just like the costumes and stuff, even if it was like, even if they weren't trying to do that, it still feels like it's like this is very like Dora Milaje kind of style. Like all like they're like well, warrior, everything is all like red, and they're fighting with like spears, and like it's just it's all very like, the fighting style is similar, which I mean it must have been inspired by like the actual like the Marvel is all inspired by this, but then it just feels like they saw that and were like, oh yeah, get this movie in production. But yeah, but basically the basic plot is like there's a new recruit to like the at Jodie, and then you're really following her and like her like training, and then you going with all the training, and then like they're kind of in a war with a rival tribe or rival kingdom that is like also they've aligned themselves with like the Europeans, so they're getting like guns and horses, and so they kind of like technology wise might like outpower like the Dahomey kingdom, but then the Dahomey have these elite warriors that can like fight them. So and then John Boyega is the king of Dahomey, and so he has to decide like, are we gonna go to war, or am I gonna try like do some sort of like trade agreement with them? And then obviously Viola Davis is like the general of Joey, and then and is like also might be on the way to become like the Woman King, and the quote unquote the titular Woman King, who's like a because the homie like the society, they have like they have twin gods. They have a female and a male god that is like they're like main religious system. And so
Mm-hmm.
there's a thing where like they have like a male king and a woman king on the throne, and they rule like as partners. And so that's kind of like the thing. It's like Viola Davis is like kind of like the front runner to be like the woman king, because she's like the this like super like successful general of and warrior for like this like elite group of warriors.
I thought she was the king already in when it starts.
Well, yeah, well she's the head of like this group, but then it's like she could like go even higher and become the woman king if like the king like decides to like make her the Woman King.
Gotcha,
But then John Boyega also has like a bunch of like wives who are like there's one in particular who's like very like political and like trying to like, I want to be the Woman King. I'm gonna work my behind the scenes to like get myself higher and like be like the main person. But there's some fun, there's some cool action. I mean, if you enjoy the Dora Milaje MCU action, it's very, there's a lot of like similar stuff here. But it's a solid movie. If you enjoy like historical epics, you enjoy like historical action, it's worth checking out on Netflix. It's very like, I think even like Gina Prince Bythewood, who like directed it, like she like said like the main influences were like Gladiator, Braveheart, Last of the Mohicans. So if you enjoy that style movie, you'll probably enjoy The Woman King.
I see.
And that's it for me this week. So we can wrap things up. Definitely head over to the site. We've got all of our usual features. We got all the trailers we talked about this week. I've got a review of Equalizer 3 if you want to read my review of that. It's up on the sites. You can check out our commentary from last month, which was Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and we're gonna have a new one coming up at the end of this month, so stay tuned for that. And all of our usual stuff is up there every day as well, so head over and check all that stuff out. And for Chris, I am Zach, and we will see you next week. For more Everything Action, head to www.everythingaction.com. You can also follow us on Twitter @EVAction, on Facebook by searching for Everything Action, and follow us on Instagram @everything.action. You can also subscribe and get more episodes on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.